She's still laughing.
That's so funny. Welcome to 5 Lemons Left. We're the real stuff, the lemons making lemonade. So pucker up, because we're going to be discussing our life's lessons and the nitty-gritty details of our spiritual journeys.
Hey y'all, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Drusilla.
I'm Melissa.
Hello, this is Morgan.
And I'm Penny. Welcome to our podcast today.
What if you can show up to the holidays as yourself, not just taking off the boxes? What would that even look like?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a great question, Amanda. Yeah, in our pre-conversation, I was just thinking about the time in my life when it really clicked for me that, my life doesn't have to be this formula of you go to college, you get a husband, you get a job, you start to have babies. And I could actually evaluate, do I want to have babies? Do I want all of these things? And it's sort of the same thing with the holidays. How many times have we just been going through the motions and doing the things that have been expected of us, going to the family's house or the obligations, the cooking, the different dishes, whatever the expectations are that have just been placed on you, that you've never paused to consider, do I actually want to be doing these things?
Do I want to chunk that green bean casserole right out the window, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I just had a story popped in my mind. Oh, I love it. So I think, about 35 years old the first time I didn't go to my mother's.
It was just yesterday then, right? Just yesterday? Last year?
Just last year.
Yeah.
And I was so stressed out about not showing up. And then, so it was a girlfriend of mine, and I went to another state to visit some friends. And it was a wonderful Thanksgiving day. And I said, well, let me at least call my mother, check in on my son. My son was there. He stayed behind. And when I called my mother, she gave me the cold shoulder.
Uh-oh.
Yes, she did not really even want to talk to me on the phone, and I could tell. And it was just and she really it's kind of sweet now, but she makes everybody feel that way when they don't show up for the holidays.
She's
so
busy.
There's expectations, huh?
Yes. Expectations. Yes.
Wow.
So, since then, of course, I'm married. And so she just needs to know in advance if we're going to be there or if we're going to be at my husband's family or not. And then she's okay with it. But yeah, you kind of really have to have a really, really good excuse not to show up.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I guess the story around the holidays that I have is that, at Christmas, we had a specific meal that we always ate, and with, a bunch of the relatives. And one year, I don't know what was going on that we didn't go anyplace, but my sister and her husband came, and I made a Chinese food meal. And it was just like, what?
Where's the
Chinese? Yeah. It was but it really turned out good. Everybody loved it. But it's just interrupting those patterns. We can get into patterns with everything, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Working or not. Yeah.
And we drive ourselves crazy with expectations. And also just thinking, I think for me, just getting a little older, a little over 35, just a little older.
Bless your heart.
Yeah. I some of the things I just thought I had to do or please people. For me, it was a lot of pleasing. Like, I'll go to your house because you asked me to, even though I don't want to, I will do it. Or, just lots of pleasing. And I love to be caring of the people in my family and stuff. But I had to switch off that pleasing because of the expectations and the expectations I put on myself. And then I'm happier. And then I show up like happier, funnier, just because lighter, and I'm more enjoyable to be with. Because I'm not,
Yeah, I love that. For me, I actually want to be with my family at the holidays. I enjoy being around my family, and I enjoy my in-laws. So I don't have any of that, don't really want to go to my in-laws, but I have to kind of thing. I'm fortunate in that way. And there is a part of I want to go because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. There is a part of that too, but I actually do want to be there. But it's been liberating over the past few years to it doesn't have to be on the holiday. It can be the week before or the week after, and it doesn't mean any less. And so that's been very liberating. And then one of the best Thanksgivings that we've had ever, my husband and I, was 3 years ago when we were in the RV. We went through my hometown and visited my family. We went through John Mark's hometown and visited his family. But then for the actual day of Thanksgiving, we were in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and we were at a campsite, and I'm not cooking a huge Thanksgiving spread in an RV kitchen. So you know what we did? We went to the grocery store and bought I think a rotisserie chicken type thing and some of the pre-made casseroles. And John Mark told me the one or two dishes that he really wanted homemade. And I made one or two dishes from scratch, and I bought the rest at the grocery store. And the very first year that I hosted Thanksgiving, I had to make every single dish myself, and I had to make it all from scratch. It was I have to prove something, and one and done. I never want to do that again.
Yeah. So is that part of your to-do list? If we're talking about checking off your to-do list, what is your to-do list? What have you made as your to-do list for the holidays?
For the holidays.
Definitely cooking is not on my list.
Yeah.
So
that's not your thing. You've shared that.
Talking about past, or are you talking about now? What things that we have let go of on our to-do list? Are you talking about?
Well, both. I think we're talking about showing up really showing up just so authentically, and you want to be there and being your true self, and not just okay, I got to go to my mom's and then I got to go to here. And so what, or
what would you want to have on your to-do list?
Yeah. Or what is it you have that you're I don't like that.
That you don't want on there.
Like you just said, checkbox, I've made a full meal from scratch for everyone. Not going to do that again.
Yeah.
So you answer the question first, Melissa.
Checkbox.
Yeah.
Checkbox, I am not cooking.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's nothing new, right? You normally don't cook?
Nothing new. But I am going to a girlfriend's, and I did tell her, she's like, well, what do you want to bring? And I said, stuffing. We're going to bring stuffing, and we're going to bring some potatoes. There's 30 people coming. And she wrote back, are you kidding me? Or are you really?
You're not bringing the stuffing, honey, if you don't cook, or the potatoes.
I ordered it already. And my husband wants to make these special TikTok mashed potatoes. So, anyways, yeah, and it's funny because she's already told me, she goes, I know you'll be there if you want to, and I know you won't be there if you don't want to, because I am very clear about that. And so, yes. And one of my to-dos is just to enjoy myself and have fun and not make it a big stressful thing. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. Checkbox.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
I think.
Go ahead.
No, you
Priscilla.
go ahead, Penny.
No, you go ahead, Priscilla.
Well, I was just going to say, you all were very instrumental in helping me kind of break free from, the
I remember last
people
year.
pleasing and the, oh,
So,
yes.
Drusilla, if you would just recap last year, just in case someone listening didn't hear last year's thing. So if you could that would be great.
Yeah. So all the prior years, and it's mostly Christmas, like Thanksgiving is just taking a dish or two to my mom's and really enjoying that. Christmas is quite different for me. It usually requires that I am, well, for the last three years prior to last year, I hosted. So I would have my husband's family come into town, which might be 10 or 12 people, and they would stay for maybe a little over a week or so. And my family would come down and they would just come down for the day. Some would come maybe overnight or just for the day, 2-hour drive from South Carolina to Atlanta. And so I would host and I would make sure we had games that we would play every hour on the hour, and that there were gifts for each person every time somebody won. And yes, so it just kind of happened. I started thinking about, well, how did that even happen? Well, it happened at my mom's house when I became this person that felt like I wanted to be the giver and I wanted everybody to have whatever they wanted for Christmas. So I started just buying all these gifts. And so then we would say, okay, everybody's going to play games. I'm not just going to give up the gifts. So that's kind of how it all started. So then one year when I tried to not do anything, everybody was like, well, why are you so scared? There's no games. And so it just became a thing. So that's how it all started. And so last year, we didn't have Thanksgiving at my house. My son gave the idea of having it at an Airbnb, which was perfect. So we all went there the morning of, and me and my husband and a few of his family members stayed all night at the Airbnb so we could clean up and make sure everything was okay. But it was just so perfect in the sense that the stress was very minimal. I mean, my son and his fiance and my niece, they facilitated all the games. Everybody bought gifts that would contribute to the games. And we cooked breakfast there for everybody. But it was just like everybody contributed. And it wasn't just all on me. And it never had to be. It was just me making it all about, pleasing people, making sure everybody was happy and having fun and all of that. And so this year coming up, we usually talk about it for Thanksgiving. So I'm going to be sure to do probably even less than I did last year for sure.
And what's the lesson in it for you?
The lesson, of course, is to stop and understand what I am authentically wanting to do, because there's nothing wrong with doing some of those things if it just feels right. It just needs to feel right. And I don't need to feel obligated to do any of it, or even to be there if that's, my choosing. And so it's to check in with myself and to make sure that I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing, and nothing more, nothing less. There is one small thing that's different this year, I must admit. So my larger family, which is all of my cousins, which I have hundreds of, we have decided to throw in a holiday party in all of the events that we usually have during the year. So we are having a holiday party on the Sunday after Thanksgiving. And I do head up the committee for that.
I love that your family's so big that there has to be a committee.
Yeah.
Well, there's 18 people on the committee.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's like I'm really not doing hardly anything. I'm just scheduling the Zoom meetings, and we're divvying up everything. And it's really cool. It's really awesome. And it's going to be so much fun because we're honoring all of the generation before us, because they're all in their 70s and 80s, and they're getting older. So we want to make sure we recognize them and give them their flowers, this year for the holidays. So,
and where do you hold that?
At an event hall. We have it. We rented an event hall. We have a caterer, so none of us have to cook the food. So it's just turning out really awesome.
Is it a formal dress or
semi-formal attire? Mm-hmm.
That's fun. It's always fun.
Yeah.
How many are you expecting?
The number is at 170 something right now.
Wow.
So, yeah.
You do have hundreds of cousins.
Yeah, I do.
Drusilla, what I heard in that is like you like established some boundaries, right? And that you started with those last year. And I don't, it just really, it doesn't mean you started with them, but like there were some clear boundaries that you have. And what I didn't hear was meanness, right? It wasn't like, I'm not gonna do that because of that, right? It was self-care.
I knew, because I knew it was me doing it, and not, anybody doing it to me at all.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That
sounds like taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks to you all. I'm sure I would not have gotten there had we not had discussions leading up to that.
Yeah, because it would be so easy to go into victim mode, like all of this stuff is on me and it's being put on me by everybody in the family. And it's beautiful to hear you like owning that you allowed it to become that without blaming yourself, and then changing it.
And you're teaching all your nieces and nephews and the little people of your family, like, this is what you do for your older generation. This is how you help take care of them. And this is how you take care of yourself. You don't just, like Morgan said, you don't become a victim and do it all and then get pissed. You don't, you delegate, you make a committee. And I think it's just such beautiful teaching to the younger people.
Yes, we intentionally have 4 people on the committee who's of the generation behind us for that reason. Yeah.
Well, and fun for them too. Like they probably are ready and wanting to be involved in all of that.
Yes, it's so
Do they
cool.
get to control the music?
They do, and the games. We're playing games at that party too, and they get to decide what the games are. I don't even know. We don't even care to know. We don't want to know.
I love that.
So awesome.
That, to me, that is the recipe for smooth holiday season. Is it's about boundaries. It's about self-care. It's about authenticity. Melissa, I love your suggestion, like what's on your list, right? It's like kind of knowing in advance so you're not numbing, right? You're not just going out of rote. Like, I have to do this. I have to do this. Like, so for me, what's on my list, because I know you want to know.
We do, Amanda.
This year, I am going to practice. I'm going to make it up as I go along. I really want to practice. For me, it's about using my voice for peace. Like, this is a theme for me. Like this at the end of this year, moving into next year, it's about using my voice and being comfortable with, I don't even know what I'm going to say. I think I have, I think that I don't know if it's like me, it's not me standing up on a soapbox, but it's me being comfortable showing up as love. Like I've been learning lessons this past week, like going into a group situation, like going out to eat at our local restaurant, and the vibration being really low and being, fear, like, fear and I don't even know what to say. There's just a lot of fear present. And I felt myself in that situation, like shrinking down, like really like dampening my light, right? And like I even said something that when it came out of my mouth, I'm like, that is not who I am, because it was like being part of the crowd, right? And I felt oogie. It just, as soon as I said it, I'm like, this is not where I want to be, and I don't have. I'm developing that skill, right? So, it wasn't like I was going to stand up and start singing joy to the world, right? I'm not going to do that, but I want to honor how I feel about life, and I want to show up like that. So that's me setting an intention to show up as who I am. And that's super duper hard, right? Because with that, like to how to show up in peace, like there's like, there's a whole, we could talk all about not letting go of judgment to show up as peaceful. I don't know if we want to go there, but like, how do you show up in the family without,
It's a good point, Amanda. I think even more challenging than the things that I talked about, the doing is what you said. Being there, being present, engaging, but standing firm on who you are and being authentic in that. That's, I will have to say that I probably was able to escape a lot because I was doing more. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, and I think the opportunity to focus on being the love and the light, as you just stated, Amanda, it allows room for that. Me shifting from the doing allows me to focus more on that. Not that I've ever had any big blow ups or any big things to happen during the holidays. But there's been tension before, and there's been times that I could have come from a more loving place or something like that. So I like that example you just gave.
Yeah, I do too. And I'm curious, Amanda, if you were able to have a shift, or if you felt a shift in the restaurant once you recognized that you were being sucked in and decided that that wasn't who you were.
Oh, we dipped. I'm like, I gave my husband a signal, and we were like, out.
Yeah.
It's dark. I got to go. Like,
Yeah.
That was what I needed to do in that moment, right? That's what I needed to do in the moment, is I just needed to remove myself because I wasn't being, it just didn't feel good to be there. So I wasn't there anymore.
What did you do? Then you went home?
And then I went home, and then I realized it took me a minute to realize what had happened, right? Because I was in it. I didn't know that was happening. I was reacting. It was the old script popped up again, right? My old script. And I'm learning old script, old habits, like habits take time to undo. So I went back to an old habit, and I had to get out of it. I'm celebrating the fact that I recognized I needed to get out of it.
Yeah.
That can always be an option, right? You can always dip.
Yeah.
You can recover and then decide if you want to go back or not. But some people don't think they can dip out. Some people just think, I got to stay here doing my doing and doing my shit. And, and then they just keep spiraling into their old story. But leave, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That definitely would have been an old pattern for me, would have been to freeze, right? I would have just frozen in space, and it would have happened around me. Like I still would have talked. Like I don't probably someone like my horse friend Lisa would have noticed right away, because that's, because as you work with horses, you get really attuned to that freeze response. But so she probably would have noticed, but the general public wouldn't have noticed my shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's it's new at this, right? Like part of it is recognizing the freeze response, right? And to be in it, right? So there's different steps in how to even have the courage to leave, right? When you're in lockdown, when you're like, if you're a herd animal and a tiger is eating you, all you do is freeze, right? You take away all your senses. So
you fight.
Yeah.
Fight, yeah.
Fight, because there's families that move into the fight.
Yeah.
There is the fight, but what I'm finding is a lot of it is freeze, right?
For you.
Have that freeze.
I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, Amanda, if you walked into your family's holiday party and felt that same bad juju, would you walk away?
Ooh, isn't that interesting? I have gotten really good at the dip, right?
Yeah. Irish exit.
Yeah, I've gotten really good at the dip. Mm-hmm. I just don't think at this point that I would put myself in a situation where I really felt like I had to run. I'm feeling pretty safe these days. Like that was like an old pattern that I'm starting to recognize that. Mm-hmm. But it would be so challenging to, like, if you're at a family function, just to leave if you got triggered, right? That would be so hard. All the family expectations, like, then we're using tools about that would go into a whole nother toolbox of you get to practice non-judgment. There's just a whole bunch of other things that, I mean, we could spend a whole episode on that, which, we might do.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Penny?
Yeah.
Have you ever had to dip, or you had to fight?
Oh my God, I grew up in a family that fought. Come on.
I'm almost jealous of that, Penny. Right?
Really?
Using the words, like really vocalizing.
But it wasn't good fighting. I just want to tell you, it wasn't like, it wasn't the type of learning fighting where you learn something from it. If that makes sense. It was more, I don't know. It was more immature. I don't know if it was immature. I don't know. I don't even know how to categorize it at this moment.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, the holidays were always a lot of fun for me growing up. There wasn't much fighting around that. Maybe somebody got upset about, I don't know what. I don't remember much fighting at holidays though. Just thinking back, I didn't even think about that before, honestly. So, what I'm thinking back to is when my mom passed away, which was a year ago coming up on the 23rd of November. And there were a couple of disagreements, and one of my siblings did leave. And it was like he was so triggered that he left the hospital bed, the hospital room. And then my mom passed away while he was gone. But he was so triggered he had to leave. And it was disappointing that at our age that we still have to go through that kind of stuff. But and it really helped me to see where I can also grow, because and I've really been paying attention to self-regulation since that. And like when I'm self-regulating myself or when I'm getting out of self-regulation, and really paying attention to the triggers that I have, and when I'm not being completely from my loving heart, and when I'm, maybe even doing something to trigger somebody else, because we can all play that game too. So that's pretty fresh in my memory. And there was a couple of situations, but it's different because it's grief also. I mean, when I if there's anything I can say is that when somebody is grieving the loss of a loved one, you just got to give them a hall pass a lot of time because it's really hard. And a lot of people don't have the tools to work through the emotions yeah, I mean, especially when it's your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I just want to say, like, I don't know. I give kudos to your sibling for walking out if he felt like he couldn't respond in that moment in a way that was.
Oh, he responded. And then he walked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know with my, like, when things get heated with my husband and I, because we are both fire signs and they sometimes get heated, like sometimes I have to just walk away from the conversation, but maybe it's a kind of a different thing that you're talking about with your brother.
It might be slightly different.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, and it's real. I mean, this is like really, I mean, there are families where, you know, people won't come back together because of situations that have happened. And, you know, I don't live near my brother, so we typically don't get together for the holidays. And so I don't know. Well, we've been together for some though. So, and it's all been fine. I mean, listen to me, fine. You know what fine stands for, right?
I hate that. I hate is a strong word, but I
that word. Tell me, I'm sure it's an acronym that I've heard before, but tell me.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you the cleaned up version and then you can put the 4-letter word in there that you want, but it's freaked out, incompetent, neurotic, and emotional. When you say fine, and you can use F-U-C-K. Yeah, you can use F-U-C-K for the freaked instead. But yeah, but let's go back. I mean, that's a real thing where, you know, families have disagreements and then they don't get together, or they, the turkey's on the table and everybody's like falling apart. But that's not my experience at this time. And I'm really grateful for that. And I just wanted to tell you that my big thing this Thanksgiving is, I think this is going to be my last year of making a turkey because most of my family is vegan. But there are still members that come to our Thanksgiving that are meat eaters. And I love making a turkey. And my friend Kathy Funk in Morgan Hill, California, raised her own turkeys. And so I'm buying one of her farm fresh turkeys and it'll be fresh from the processing. And I don't even eat that much turkey, but because I'm still a flexitarian, I'll eat whatever I want. But so that's the big thing for me this year. Am I going to do it next year again? Because there are meat eaters that come to our Thanksgiving. And yeah, so I that's an expectation that I'm looking at. Thank you, Drusilla, for showing us your whole process that you went through with our help, to see if somebody wants turkey. My kids have said this: when somebody wants turkey, they can bring it, Mom.
That's true.
That's true.
Exactly.
Yeah, but and you said you enjoy doing it, right?
I do.
Yeah.
And it's always so good.
It's always, I bet so. And I love like that you're supporting farm, local meat.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah. Well, and see, we cook everything either the night before or the day of, and it's all, organic, farm fresh from the farmer's market or whatever, because that's what we want to eat. And so we do have kind of a hectic morning and, but we all love it. And we work as a team. It's my daughter's husband and my, daughter's husband's mother. And my younger brother, we all cook it. And it's always is so yummy. And so, yeah. So that's what we're up to this year. So I haven't taken much off my list. But I do have a team working with me.
Mm-hmm. And you're smiling. It doesn't look like it's
super
burdensome, maybe.
Well, if I have help, like Drusilla was saying, when she was doing it all herself, she got exhausted. Like I mean, you can't even enjoy the day because you're so freaking exhausted from doing all the work. So I've come to the realization that people can chop for me. I don't have to chop everything up, and that takes a lot of time to do that.
It does. It does. Okay.
Wow. So I don't know. These holidays, they can be quite wonderful or challenging for all of us, right?
Well, I know that we need to wrap soon, but I just wanted to share my to-do list with the audience, and I'll just make it brief. But I was thinking, there are people in my family who vote differently than I do, maybe think differently than I do on social issues. And the last time I was home, like some statements were made that really kind of like jarred me. I wasn't expecting, because we aren't really a political household. It doesn't usually come up in our family. And when it did, it was a little jarring, and I wasn't prepared for like how to respond in that moment. So on my to-do list is to be prepared with how I'm going to respond if a situation like that comes up. And what I've seen on social media is people saying, you could just say something like, what a strange thing to say out loud. So I'm trying that on, and just to let it be known that I don't agree with what you're saying, and I don't really want to get into it, but that's just a really strange thing to say out loud. So that's on my to-do list.
I love it.
I love it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Lemonettes, it appears that we're coming to the close of another riveting podcast. And so I have a couple of Post-its.
Yay, Penny's Post-its.
Yes. Switching off pleasing to be lighter and joyful is one of the tools that that little Miss Melissa talked about very early on. And then I love the recipes for a successful holiday. What are they, ladies? What did I write?
Clear boundaries, self-care, showing up authentically.
Be the light and the love. Be the light and the light. Yeah, be the love and the light. Versus be versus do. Okay, beautifuls. That's a wrap of our episode this week. Thank you so much for joining us. And be sure to tune in next week. Well, this week, we focused on our Thanksgivings and what we're up to. And so be sure to tune in next week when we offer you up a whole smorgasbord of tools for you to take into the holidays so that you too can have peace. You can show up in an intentional way, and your holidays can be filled with joy. So tune in and join us for another riveting episode of the 5 Lemons Laughing. Thanks for listening, and you have a really beautiful rest of your week.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving to all of our Americans out there.
Bye-bye.